Good evening and welcome to Sideline Sports Podcast, episode 11, presented by Lean Mean Meals. I am the host, Alex Naveja, and alongside of me is longtime colleague, Gustavo Ortega. It's been a long time, Gustavo.
Yes, sir. It has been. It's a great pleasure to be here with you, Alex. Thank you for having me. Another opportunity to work together. I'm really excited to talk about all kinds of sports, no? And especially soccer today.
Soccer. Guys, we have soccer for you today. But before we get into business, I just want to say very quickly, thank you so much to everybody that have been putting a thumbs up, subscribing to the YouTube channel lately. We are on our way to 100. I believe we are at 74 subscribers. So thank you so much to each and every one of you putting the thumbs up, the subscription, and even putting the little bell notification there. But without further ado, here's a little video from our sponsor. There's a little video from our sponsor from Lean Mean Meals. Get all your meal prep done with them. They have your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They even have your detox juices. They even have your cold brew coffee, whatever you guys have. Make sure to use my promo code Sideline10 to save 10% off on all of your orders. The website will be down in the description down below, so make sure not to miss out on that. But I don't know about you, Gustavo, but those pancakes on Lean Meals just
sounds
look
good right now.
Delicious right now, especially with Halloween time right now.
Holidays
and
coming
with
up.
Thanksgiving. And by the way, happy Halloween to each and every one of you. I know by the time you guys are watching this, it's going to be Halloween time. I don't know if you guys are going to be tuning in when it's Halloween, but still either way, happy Halloween. And I'll even think ahead, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. But you know what? Let's jump straight into the episode, Gustavo.
That's right.
We have some MLS action going on, in LA. Unfortunately for all LAFC fans, I have to bring it up, but not exactly the type of game you want to have against the Sounders yesterday. It was a 3-1 final yesterday. And even then, Gustavo, there were reports saying that the game wasn't even going to go through due to the fires.
Right. It was until 10 a.m. where they were still debating if we're going to have the game because of the fires, the smoke, and the environment, the pollution as well. But I mean, the probably best thing would have been for LAFC not to play it yesterday. But, they had to play it. Unfortunately, they lost at home, that Western Conference final, and big opportunity to step up and go to the MLS Cup final, which didn't happen. And congratulations to the Sounders, who did a great job in stopping not just the Carlos Vela, but also LAFC as well.
And, Gustavo, you were there yesterday, and you were covering the game. Tell us, what was the environment like? How were the fans throughout the whole entire game? I was watching the game, and everybody just looked electric, and everyone was just excited into the game despite them being down.
Like always, the fan base from LAFC has been great all season long. And going back to last year, they built a great culture for the team and for the city of Los Angeles. So if you want to go, you must go to an LAFC game because the fans are great. They have a lot of energy throughout the game, even after they were winning 1-0 from the goal from Atuesta, and then being down when they tied it, and as well as when they were down 2-1, they kept going and singing alongside to cheer up the team. I saw a lot of people just raising up their hands like, "Come on, let's go, cheer for the team, don't give up now." But once the third goal landed, it kind of like just deflated the environment. But the 32-52 always doing a great job supporting the team who's playing on the field.
And Gustavo, you I haven't even been able to tell you guys, but Gustavo has had many opportunities to cover LAFC throughout this season this year. And I know before going into the show, they were saying they had such a remarkable year. They had such great momentum going into this game against the Sounders and even defeating their crosstown rival in the LA Galaxy. I know that was a pretty fun game for us LA fans, experience LA versus LA type of thing. So just explain. Just explain.
Yeah, like I said, LAFC had a almost perfect season, but unfortunately it ended last night against Sounders. Like I said, I'm gonna look at my notes because they did a great job this season. LAFC, well, they set up the MLS record for most points in a singular regular season, which was 72 points, beating the record from the New York Red Bulls last year, who had 71. Carlos Vela itself, the Mexican striker, scored a record of 34 regular season goals, most ever in a single season, beating that record from Joseph Martinez from Atlanta United, who scored 31 last year. And they finished with a plus 48 goal differential. So that tells you a lot about they were a really well-balanced team, just not offensively, but also defensively. And they finished 16 points clear and 33 more goals than the second place of the Western Conference, which was Seattle Sounders. So it tells you like the remarkable historic season they had. I think they captured the supporter shield for being the best team in the season, in the regular season. And I think although they didn't win the cup and they didn't get to where they wanted to be, although it's one of those things that you say, okay, you guys had a great season, but you guys didn't finish the ultimate goal. You had like the opportunity to play the MLS Cup at home, despite of the other results, whether it was against Atlanta, Toronto, or from the East Coast. But the opportunity of winning against Sounders and having your first ever MLS Cup final, especially at home, would have been much more to the team of LAFC,
And with a pretty new stadium.
Bank of California Stadium.
California, that's
beautiful.
That would have been. That's a beautiful venue.
It's always rocking. The capacity of 22,000. Like I said, that game against LA Galaxy, you saw a team of LAFC that very united. They knew they had to get the job done. They couldn't beat their crosstown rivals, like you said. And to make that statement in the playoffs, I think that was going to be a big boost for LAFC. But unfortunately, they couldn't against Seattle. Seattle, who caps up to them. They've been doing great job since the 2009 season. And let me tell you, the Sounders, 6 conference semifinals since the 2009 season, 2 conference finals, 1 MLS Cup championship in 2016, 1 MLS Cup runner-up, and they have gotten to their 3rd MLS Cup finals in 4 years. So either they're waiting against Atlanta or Toronto. If they play Toronto, it would be the 3rd time against Toronto in the last 4 years. So we'll see how that goes too,
You know what? It was one heck of a game last night. At least it wasn't one of those 0-0 game, one of those nail-biter games. It was one of those, okay, we're going to get a couple goals on the board.
Yeah,
like
of course.
that. But, Gustavo, what was it that LAFC messed up on last night?
Well, I think defensively was not a good night for the back line, giving up 3 goals against the Sounders. Raul Ruiz-Diaz, who scored a brace, and as well as Nicolas Loreido, who scored the second goal of the night. Just miscues from the defense. They weren't up to the par from the game. Seattle, although they had a little bit disadvantage on the back line, I feel like they pretty much, once they scored the tying goal, after it was, because Atuesta scored in the 17th minute, and then the tying goal came in the 22nd minute. So it was a quick turnaround for Seattle. You playing against the home team, against their home crowd. It's tough to play on the road, especially in these playoffs. And
it really is.
Yeah, and then it's important to see that LAFC once again failed in the big stage, just like they did last year. They lost against Real Salt Lake at home in the first round. This time they had a bye week in the first round playoffs, but unfortunately they didn't get it done at home. One step closer to reaching that MLS Cup final. They try to achieve what Atlanta did last year too, and barely their second year winning the MLS Cup, but unfortunately they didn't. One question remains is Carlos Vela. He didn't show up this game. one of the great jobs that Saunders did was eliminating his style of play, making sure that he didn't get those opportunities. And to tell you the stats, I mean, LAFC had 14 shots, 4 shots on goal, and 69% of possession. So it tells you that pretty much the ball was in LAFC's side. Sounders that were just counter-attacking, 11 shots, 5 on target, 31% possession. So they knew like they had a small margin of error, and that's what they did. So they pretty much pressure when they had to. They took advantage of the counter-attacks, and I feel like Sounders knew what it had to be done to get to the next stage, which is the MLS Cup final. They've been there. This is their third, like I said, the third MLS Cup final in 4 years. So that tells you about the stability of the team from the Sounders, and as well as the main core. Like you have players like Rey Diaz, who came into the season, Lodeiro, who's been there for years, Christian Roldan, American talent, as well as Jordan Morris. Building the farm system as well for the United States players, and a little bit of combination with foreigners as well. So I think hats off to the Sounders because they did a great job of eliminating one of the best, if not the best player in MLS right now, which is Carlos Vela, and who had like a historic season. Like I said, he broke the record for most goals, and unfortunately, the question remains is like what happened to Carlos Vela. He was so electrifying against Galaxy, scoring a brace, giving a couple assists, but in this match, he wasn't that much of a factor for LAFC.
So now let's talk a little bit more about LAFC.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stick to this topic. What do you do moving forward? Let's say season's over already. Right. The season is done.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do moving forward? What do you emphasize more to be able to qualify to go all the way to the championship?
Well, the thing is, it's a brand new club, barely 2 years in. You need that experience. Hopefully, the players saw the Sounders celebrating on their field. So let that sink in, motivate you, get that fuel up. Realize, okay, this is what we missed. This is what we need to work on. I believe probably a couple more players on the back line to make an experienced players. Although Orta and Zimmerman had a great game, great season. Zimmerman, who was in part of the best MLS best 11, I still think they need a leader in the back line who can control the tempo of the game like they did with Laurent Simon. And I think the Belgium did a great job in their first year, the captain. And honestly, I think LAFC has got it together. They have a great, successful manager with Bob Bradley, as well as a great core of players, young and veterans. I think they just need to get over that edge, the hump.
Right.
Yeah, because like I said, they failed twice in the big stage, but I'm sure this type of games are what makes teams great. It's not always easy. We saw Galaxy the last few years. They didn't make the playoffs. They went back at it, regroup, re-signed players, brought new players, and made it to the playoffs. Now you're going to see LAFC maybe go for younger stars, not too many old players, and probably caliber players like Carlos Vela. I mean, LA is a great market to be at. It's very noticeable, and I think that's what they need to do. I mean, they don't really have to change much because they have the potential, and they have a very depth lineup. So I think they don't have to change much. Just that getting over the hump, like this type of games, soak them in, realize the moment and what you're playing for, pretty much.
You really have to tip your cap to the front office for
Right.
LAFC to, this is a very young franchise.
Right.
And to be able to qualify for the playoffs twice and almost make it all the way type of thing, that's amazing. That's amazing for LAFC to do.
Yeah, it's not easy to be a new franchise and build all this hype around, competing with the crosstown rival. And I'm telling you, LAFC just has to get it together. Unfortunately, their historic season ended up short. In the last 10 games, they didn't get a clean sheet because the defense wasn't up to par. It kind of went down slow for them. In the last 180 minutes, they gave up 6 goals, and you can't let that happen to you, especially at home in the playoffs. So it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for LAFC. So we'll see how how they get better. That's gonna be interesting because they were the best team in the MLS throughout the year. So it's gonna be interesting to see what the front office does in adding more players or bringing in more veteran leadership to get over the hump.
All right, Gustavo, we were already talking a little bit about the crosstown rivals. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk a little bit about LA Galaxy. Already, the front office already talking about how they want to talk to Zlatan Ibrahimovic. They want to talk to him, and they want to see if they can get another deal going and try to, let's do it again. Let's get the band together
Yeah.
again.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think Galaxy will bring him back?
It's gonna be tough because, as you know, well, Zlatan uploaded a post on his IG story saying, "Hey Spain, I'm coming back." So it's gonna be a weird couple of weeks for the LA Galaxy fans because Zlatan brought a lot to this league as well. You might say he's cocky or overconfident, but I think it was good for the league. Creating that rivalry between LA Galaxy and LAFC, Carlos Vela against Zlatan, and you need type of players like that that will not just talk off the pitch, but also bring it on. When it comes to playing. Zlatan, who finished second in most goals scoring, if I'm not mistaken, 30 goals. And I think he's going to be missed if he does leave. But hopefully they bring him back, hopefully another year to a designated player. And not just that, but, there's been talks that on Antuna, that he might leave LA Galaxy, so it's going to be interesting to see if they bring that attack back, that attacking forward as well. So there's a lot of questions going on with the front office. Do you want to resign Zlatan or do you want to bring someone younger who's gonna bring more years into the franchise like they did with Christian Pavon from Boca Juniors? So I think it's going to be interesting to see if Zlatan is willing to stay because I'm sure he loves the city. But I mean, he did say that he would like to go back and play in Europe. So it's going to be a lot of drama this coming weeks. So we'll see if Zlatan can resign with the Galaxy, which I think it'll be good for the league. Having the eyes on MLS. He did give a lot to talk about this season after all the words he said, that he was better than Carlos Vela and blah 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 and stuff like that. That he was a Ferrari while Carlos Vela was a Fiat. So I mean, stuff like that is what brings more fire into the league, and I think it's gonna get more noticeable. But hopefully he stays around. It's a great pleasure to cover him, as well as great players like Vela and other amongst them.
So, if Zlatan leaves, do you think the league isn't going to be as interesting? Because when Zlatan, when he's on the field, he is amazing. This guy is just dynamic. He just makes the games that much interesting here in LA. He just makes the league that much interesting. He loves being on the side, being on the story, the articles, and being on the titles, the headlines and such. And he just loves that attention. If he does go back to Europe, do you think that's going to make the MLS kind of like the publicity go down a little bit?
In some parts, yes, because you won't have the advertisement of, like I said, the rivalry between Bella and Zlatan. We won't have that guy who talks bad about the league and then we'll talk about it. He did criticize the MLS a couple of times, saying that the MLS playoffs were DS were, and I think that kind of like brings attention into the league. Yeah, you may be talking bad about it, but that you're talking about the league. So that's created a lot of revenue for the league as well. And I think if he does leave, it's going to be a tough blow for the league because MLS is, like I said, still growing. They're bringing younger players, which I really like. They're not bringing any more like old players like to retire pretty much. So like those times when they brought like players, not to be disrespectful, but they were like in the end of their careers, like I would say some names: Bastian Schweinsteiger, Wayne Rooney, who also left England. Top players who did give a lot to the world soccer in their prime, but they were coming down here and just to not necessarily retire, but because the game of play is much easier than the one of Europe. It's not as fast paced as the ones they're used to. So I think it's gonna be an interesting fact to see if Zlatan returns, because I mean I believe the league will suffer because not just the player, but the rivalry he had with Carlos Vela. You know, I mean,
Right.
maybe they say themselves like, oh man, we don't have nothing against each other, but it's just the little things that makes you think who's better, you know, Vela or Zlatan. You know, it's not the same comparison as Messi and Cristiano, but I think that's something that the people in America are certainly gonna miss if Zlatan leaves.
So you're the Galaxy, and if let's say you have this situation taken care of with
Mhm.
Zlatan, what is the next order of business that you need to take
Oof.
care of for the Galaxy?
Well, first of all, after what happened against their crosstown rivals, against LAFC at the bank, you got to work on defense. You can't let your defense, your backline, let your worst enemy, your rival score 5 on you. That's especially on
Ouch.
playoffs.
Yeah, that's-
Especially on playoffs, that's
that
that's
hurts.
unacceptable. I think they do lack the center backs. Polenta didn't have the best season for Galaxy. He seemed a little lost on that game against LAFC. And yeah, that's one of the things that they need to focus on the back line. They need new center backs. Probably the only best player they had was Fletcher, and the Venezuelan. I think he's the one that stood out the most. But I think now that Chris Pontius retired, they're gonna need another veteran in the team. But mostly work on the back line. They really they need to do that because it was kind of an embarrassing loss against their crosstown rivals, losing 5-3. Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go, guys. Tough endings here in LA for LAFC and for LA Galaxy. But we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here in Sideline Sports Podcast. But when we come back, we're going to have Lakers and the Clippers talk. We'll both be talking about both LA teams, who really deserves LA, and we're going to just make some analysis on their first couple of games. So we'll be right back after this.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Munoz, and I play for the Guatemala women's national team, and you're here watching Sideline Sports Podcast.
Welcome back to Sideline Sports Podcast, presented by Lean Mean Meals. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Lakers and the Clippers.
Yes, sir.
Right now, pretty exciting times right now at the
Yeah.
NBA. You know, both LA teams 3-1 right now. Lakers suffering game 1 loss against the Clippers.
Right.
And the Clippers, you know, not exactly the loss you want to see there against the Suns.
Yeah.
At least the Lakers lost to a contending team, and the Clippers game that little fell apart a little bit
Right.
on that one. So, what do you think so far? Let's talk about the Lakers first.
Oh, man.
About their first couple of games that you've seen.
This is probably the best time to be in LA, you know. You have two great franchises. You have the Lakers, who have won multiple titles. You have the Clippers, who have Kawhi Leonard, if not one or two of the best players in the league, with Paul George as well. And the other side, you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Which duo do you pick? It's tough, you know, because they're completely different. But I think the winner, like LeBron said, you know, the Staples Center, you get to watch a lot of stars every night, and I think it's gonna be exciting, no, to watch how this season ends. You know, a lot of people are saying the Clippers have everything to win it. The first game, they showed that although they barely beat the Lakers by 10, it's gonna be a dogfight, you know, between these two teams, you know, because, you know, there's so much tension on the Lakers because they haven't made the playoffs in so long, and then the Clippers, who have been in the playoffs in 7 of the last 8 years. So I think it's going to be interesting to see who finishes first and who makes it farther in the NBA, especially now that the teams are so balanced. Now you don't have the dynasty of the Warriors anymore. You know, they lost Kevin Durant. They don't have Klay Thompson for the majority of the season. They're, I believe, 1-3 so far, or 1-2. The Warriors, so we'll see how that balances out, because the West is very stacked. So it's going to be interesting how the Lakers do, and as well as the Clippers.
this Western Conference is just absolutely ridiculous right now. You have the Jazz, you have the Timberwolves that haven't lost a game yet. So maybe the Timberwolves can be a sleeper team that no one expected to be a big time team. You have the Nuggets, you have the Trailblazers, Lakers, Clippers. Can't count them out. Just some amazing teams out there right now. But you know what? Yes, the Lakers are playing some great basketball, but I'm still not sold. I still feel like they need that point guard. They need that point guard to direct the traffic. Yes, Rondo, when he comes back to the court, that's really going to be that player that's going to help them out that way, but I feel like they need more. I really feel like that they need another guy to be able to be that leader. I believe Rondo, he can help out, but they need someone else to be in that point guard position. And most importantly, Gustavo, I still feel like the defense isn't 100% there. I feel like there's still some fast break opportunities for the opposition. They come in fast break, and as soon as they dish it out to someone on the left wing or in the right wing, there's already someone wide open for a three. And so they just they just look a little confused defensively, if you ask me, for the Lakers. But I still feel like they're going to play some excellent basketball, especially last night, for AD to play with. He's going to say he's not injured, but I feel like he's dealing with shoulder trouble, which is something you gamble with when you have Anthony Davis. This is somebody that can be a very delicate player, so you have to be very careful with the minutes you give him.
Definitely.
But the just outstanding numbers last night, 40 points, 20 rebounds. And then at some point you saw the Grizzlies were fouling the big guy. They were fouling the big fella. He went to the line, I believe he went 20 for 20 on the charity stripe, and it's just, how do you stop him? You can't foul him. You can't be like Dwight Howard and just foul the big guy, big old gargantuous-sized man, and you can't even stop him. You can foul him, he's just going to get the 2 free throws, and they're good. Dwight Howard, I can say he's improving. And he
had a good game.
He's having a great game. He's having a great season.
So far, start of the season, I think Dwight Howard, it's a redeemed season for him, no? The first time he came around wasn't the best, so I think he's mentally prepared for this challenge again. And you said, you have Anthony Davis, but you also have other key players for the Lakers. You have LeBron James, you have Danny Green, Avery Bradley. And I think it's going to be interesting how the team performs once everyone's healthy. I mean, Rondo's hurt still. But he's still up to date. See if he plays in the next couple games. But I think it's going to be fun to watch. LeBron and Anthony Davis, first time playing together in a Laker uniform. What else could the Laker fan base want? I think I think the Lakers are going to be back in the playoffs. I'm not sure if they'll get to the finals and win them. It's going to be tough. Maybe they'll do some changes during the trade line months. And I think there's a possibility also that even DeMarcus Cousins can come back from the ACL injury that he had a couple months back before starting the season. So, like you said, the defense needs to improve a lot because, I remember watching the score in the first half. It was pretty close. I think they were just leading by 1 point. And in the second half, the defense stepped it up. I think the Lakers should be winning by a big margin, but they also have to not get too comfortable with the leads because in basketball, it might be just a couple minutes, but it might feel like an eternity, and then they can catch up to you and probably lose that game.
And then we also can't forget Kuzma to come back for LA too. So that's going to be a big time player that's going to help out for the Lakers.
I was reading that he was starting to practice with the South Bay team. So that's good news, getting more reps and stuff. We'll see how that team works out too, having Kuzma, another offensive weapon with the Lakers. So it's going to be interesting. And as for the Clippers, Paul George, we'll see what happens when he comes back too, So like I said, it's going to be a great season for both LA teams. If you feel like watching LeBron one night, you go to the Lakers games. If you want to watch the Clippers, you go to the Clipper game. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in this new season.
Just one final note I want to add about the Lakers right now. These games that I've been watching with them playing against the Hornets and Memphis, these are not contending teams.
Right, they're not.
The Lakers have had slow starts.
Right.
They can't seem to get the fire ignited. it's not until the second half. It's not until that third quarter
Mhm.
where they start to play fantastic basketball.
Right.
They go on a run. They'll score 10 points in maybe 2 minutes or maybe even in a shorter span, and they just go off
Mhm.
on these teams. Whereas you need to think, no, Lakers. It needs to be like this since minute one.
Yeah,
It needs to
bring
be
the
like that
intensity,
since
right?
it's gotta be like this since the
Like-
start of the game. You
like-
can't just leave it off. Oh, second half we got this. No.
Mhm.
How do you know how much down are you going to be? What's going to be your deficit,
Right.
Lakers? You never want to play catch up like that.
You expect the intensity that they brought against the Clippers in the first quarter. You know, that's what you expect all game. I mean, I understand it's a long season, so it's gonna be interesting to see if they can hold that firepower all season long. But I think it's gonna be good because they know they have the weapons. Maybe they're trailing. They have, I mean, like I mentioned, all these great players. We'll see how they do. But I think they do need to bring that intensity, especially starting in the first minute, because you want to lead in the first half or the first quarter, second quarter, to make sure that you don't stress about losing a game that you should have won. Like last year, the Lakers lost a lot of games against teams that weren't contending, and I know they lost LeBron, but they if it wasn't for that injury or winning the games that they had to won, I think they would have made the playoffs as well.
And of course, Lakers have some very good bench pieces as well. I mean, JaVale McGee right now, he's a starter, but when DeMarcus Cousins comes back later on down the line in the season, we could expect Cousins to be a starter for the Lakers. Maybe start off with the bench 1st and let JaVale continue on getting the starts.
Right.
And we also have Jared Dudley, who could be a great Laker. And you know what? This is a player that I've always wanted the Lakers to always pursue ever since he was a Phoenix Sun. Like,
Yeah.
I've always wanted him to be a Laker. This would have been like a great bench piece. And of course, you can't forget Cook either. Cook is a very great 3-point shooter. This is a
Right.
player that shows a lot of hustle, a lot of a lot of drive, a
Right.
lot of want
And
to
and
play.
it helps because Cook has always been a Laker fan. You know, as a kid, he posted it like his dad, who passed away, was a big Laker fan. So he's happy to be there. You know, you want people who want to be there in the Laker uniform, and I think there's gonna be a great season for the Lakers.
So now let's talk a little bit about the Clippers
Mhm.
right now. You know what? I have very high, not expectations, but I have very high praise for the Clippers. Right now, this is a team that I really think can very much solidify, make it all the way to the Western Conference Championship. I'm just going to go ahead and say it right about now.
Mhm.
This is a team that has a lot of firepower. They have a lot of weapons with a veteran like Doc Rivers. Remember the championships he has. He already has some hardware already with his
With the Celtics. Mhm.
Celtic days, you know. So having that experience and being a coach with that experience
Right.
to be able to teach these players, just great. And I just love that duo of Kawhi and PG-13. I cannot wait for PG to come on to the court, and that's
To be
just
healthy.
that's
Mhm.
just going to be a great duo. I don't know what you think, but
Yeah,
you know
I think
what,
so
this is
too.
going to be and Harold too. Harold's going to be
mean-
a big fella. For
I mean,
them.
the Clippers who beat the Warriors twice last year in the playoffs didn't have a player like Kawhi or Paul George. So now that they do have them, it's like a lot of expectations because now you're a title contender. You know, they're one of the favorites, if not that favorite, to win the NBA title this year. But hopefully they stay healthy all year long. We know that Paul George is still recovering from the shoulder injury or surgery that he had. So it's going to be interesting to see, like Kawhi and Paul George, also Patrick Beverly, who's a hustler, and especially on the defensive side. And you got a great bench, as well as Lou Williams, who can give you 20 to 25 points a night. So, I mean, they have a lot of weapons as well, and they're very aggressive defensive team, something that they stood out for last year, and not having any star players last year. To take two against the Warriors and force them to 6 games, I think spoke a lot about this team. And that's probably one of the reasons why Kawhi Leonard wanted to sign with the Clippers, because he knew that they had the team to get the job done, and especially one of the best coaches in the league,
There's definitely a bright future ahead for the
Yeah.
Clippers, I would say. I mean, I like to think of Lou Williams as a cheat code. You know, whenever you're down, when you're going into the fourth quarter, let's say you're down 12. You could say, "Oh, we're down 12. Let me see. We're gonna start the fourth quarter. All right, we're gonna put Lou Williams in there."
He knows what he brings into the table, so it's gonna be important to see how Doc brings in the best out of everyone. No, you know, Kawhi Leonard, who had a great night against the Lakers, 30 points, and I think his defense is gonna help as well. He's probably like the only one there who has a title or championship, couple of championships. He's gonna bring that mentality into the team as well, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the Clippers do this year as well.
A lot of props to Patrick Beverley to stop AD when there was Lakers and Clippers in Game 1. Patrick Beverley, it was a mismatch there as far as size is concerned. AD, of course, the big fella, but Patrick Beverley, he said, "I will take AD. I'm gonna take him," and he took him dominantly. He was able to get some takeaways. He was able to just swap up on the ball and just say, "Oh, I'll take that." Just come in and come up on some steals, and it was great to watch Beverley take care of a big time center in the game in Anthony Davis. So it was nice to see that. But you know what? I'm going to have a hot take. Here you go, guys. This is a hot take here in Sideline Sports Podcast. I want you to comment down below on what you guys think about this. For all you Clipper fans, you guys are going to like this one. Calling it right now, Gustavo. Kawhi Leonard is the next Kobe Bryant for the Clippers.
Really?
Or he's going to be the Clippers version of Kobe Bryant.
So you think he'll bring 5 titles to the city?
I think so.
Oh, wow. That's a hot take.
I'm going to say that because Kawhi is Mr. Clutch.
Yeah.
When he was playing against the 76ers in that Eastern Conference final, when it was the double doinker, I don't even know how many times it was doinking off of the rim right there. I was just like, wow. This was my reaction the whole entire time. I was just frozen. Did that really just go in? I thought the 76ers, it was done. It was a wrap. They were going to go to the NBA Finals. And no. Raptors like, nope, I'm going to take it. Kawhi, here. The Kawhi is like, here, give me the ball. Comes in, fade away. He's on the floor. Next thing you know, doink,
and boom,
splash. And it's, just wow. And that always reminds me of Kobe.
Yeah.
Kobe was known for the clutch. Whenever there were 5 seconds, 10 seconds left in the ball game, who do you give it to?
Kobe.
Kawhi's going to be that Kobe.
Wow.
I'm calling it right now. And you know what? Paul George, maybe he could be like Shaq. Maybe I'm going a little far.
Paul George has to improve in the playoffs, no? We saw he didn't have a good playoff series against Portland. Portland. That shot that Lillard took over him, to win the game. I think that was can mark you as a player, but I think it's gonna be interesting to see how these two players collide with each other. Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard was the one who asked for Paul George. There was a thing in the interview that said, if you bring Paul George, I'm your man, and that's why they traded so many assets to Oklahoma, because they knew if they could get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard to this Clippers team, who was already good enough, man, anything can happen.
It's dynamic right there. So there you have it, guys. My hot take of Kawhi being like the Clipper version of Kobe Bryant. What's going to be your hot take, Gustavo? You got it.
My hot take? Well, for sure, I'll be seeing the Lakers and the Clippers playing in the Western Conference Final. I think that's going to be the matchup that everyone wants, and that we're going to get it. I think whoever wins, it's going to be tough, but, oh, man, I think I'm going to go against you. The Lakers are gonna win, and they're going to go to the finals.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. There you have it, guys. It's going to be hot here in the city of LA, especially for NBA, and as it was in MLS as well. So make sure to stay up to date with Sideline Sports Podcast, always talking about everything hot in SoCal sports. We're talking Lakers, Clippers. We're going to be talking about, of course, USC, UCLA football. That's going to be coming up as well. We have some... this season is almost coming to an end for college football within the next coming of shows. Just want to say thank you so much to everybody who tuned into this episode. Please subscribe, give a thumbs up to this episode, and of course, Thank you so much to Gustavo Ortega for coming on to the show. Of course, we appreciate your help in coming on to the show. And you know what? Before we go, this episode was sponsored by Lean Mean Meals. Make sure you get all of your meal prep done with them. You can get your breakfast, lunch, and your dinner done with them. Also, don't forget to use the promo code SIDELINE10. You can save yourself 10% off on all of your orders on your cold brew coffee and Etox juices. I'll put the website down in the description down below. I'm Alex Naveja, signing off from everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good one.